Hello. Okay, so it is our June team get together, and we just have a few of us that are live because summer is busy. And you have to come closer to the. Yeah. We're sharing the screen here. So what I was thinking we'd just start off with is I would love to have each of you tell us why you love the custom so much and what your experience was with them. So I'm Jamie Robb. I think most of you know me. And I'm going to turn over to Elizabeth to kick that off with, and then we'll jump back to Cindy.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. So for myself, I started taking them. It's actually been 3 years now. I just realized, which is kind of crazy. But I just took them because I love the idea of a nutrition that was made just for me. And that was really appealing to me. So that was my initial interest. And then when I started taking them, I realized that I didn't have any stomach issues, and that was something that I'd been dealing with for years and had just sort of accepted, and that wasn't at all my intent with starting to take them, but literally within the first 2 to 3 weeks, I could pick up on the fact that I didn't have any stomach pain anymore. So that was the most significant thing, but just from even being on them for a few years, I can tell even with my energy level, that's one of the things that I think I'm most thankful for now. Sometimes, as perfect as I try to be about taking them, I might forget them if I'm traveling or something, and I will notice a difference. So that I think is something that I hear from a lot of people is the energy aspect too. So yeah, I'm thankful for that.
Will you tell us about the testing you had done that your doctor didn't think you were doing so great on?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had a lot of testing and scopes and stuff like that done when they were trying to figure out why I had these issues with my stomach, and they just couldn't really figure anything out. And so I just didn't have an answer. So yeah, that was why I had just sort of resigned myself to, 2 days out of the week, I'm going to have pain, and we don't know why, but that's just the way it is. And that hasn't been the case for, about 3 years now. So it's really great.
Awesome. That's really awesome. And then also you recently had some testing done for the levels of vitamins you have. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yes. Okay. So I'm expecting, and they test your blood and everything. And when I went for one of my first appointments, she said, my doctor was like, okay, just, do you take a multivitamin? And I said, yes. And I told her, but obviously she was not really familiar with them. So she didn't know exactly how it worked. So she said, well, we live in Michigan and it's February, so it's the middle of winter. So there's no way you're getting enough vitamin D. So make sure you start taking vitamin D. And my husband was in the room also, who's on the customs. So when I left, I'm like, I can't wait till our next appointment when those test results come back, because I want to hear, I'm pretty confident I'm going to be okay with my vitamin D levels. And when we went back the next, it was like a month later, but she said, I guess you don't have to take that extra vitamin D because we never see this. It's, we're in the Midwest. There's like no sunshine right now. Your vitamin D levels are perfect. And I was like, I knew they would be.
I love it. And there wasn't anything that you needed to add other than maybe more folic acid because being pregnant, but you were totally good with just taking what you were taking, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Even your iron was good?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Everything was good.
Wow.
Yes.
Yep.
And they test me each time. So
yeah. And the longer you've been on the customs, the more and more it's made your body, obviously, like, initially those issues with your stomach that nobody can even figure out and tell you what was wrong. Right. And then like the longer you're on them, that's my experience too with the customs. And I'm loving the new Whole Foods base. I feel like I can notice that even more, but the organic Whole Foods base. But I know that for me, I take my 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. And people will say, well, how can you remember those 3 in the afternoon? Well, because they give me an energy boost. Like I have them and I'm like, all right, now I'm good to go. And if I forget them, it'll be like 7 or 8. And I'm like, holy cow, I'm tired. Why am I tired? Because I tend to kind of go from the moment I get up till the moment I go to bed. And when I'm tired, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why am I drinking? I have things to do. And it'll almost always be if I forgot to take my second 3. So I rarely do. Cindy, tell us about you and your customs.
So I have kind of a similar story. My husband and I, we were talking about having a third child for years. And so then we both felt that it was time and we weren't getting pregnant. We just kind of were like, okay, well, maybe we were wrong. So I started on customs March of was it 16? Yeah. Yep, March of 16, and I was pregnant by May 17. And yeah, it was just a like
you've been on some other good supplements for quite a while, but just kind of nothing had happened, which so, and you know, could be timing, but we've heard so many of those stories of people who it's the more your body gets in kind of balance, the more it functions. And for you in this case, got that sweet little Lily. Yeah. And then you chose to stay.
Yes, I also did. Same with you. And yeah, my levels were wonderful. I know I was still tired after my first trimester, and my iron was
how old? Well, you had the third one?
The 41.
41. So the fact that she felt pretty well and a little tired.
And it just kept me. Two other. Yeah. Go. And I same thing, like, and the mood, there was not the moods, you know, people say that, and I never had
that's really interesting, because I also, and I'm not, you know, because it's me not saying like I haven't been moody, but even my husband was like, people say when they're pregnant their wives are like crazy, but you are even keeled this whole time. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
I know, I wasn't, it was kind of afterwards that my husband said too, same thing. He said, because there was other guys at work where they're like, oh, is your wife just crazy? And he was just like, no, we just do our thing and keep going. And yes.
Well, so that now we know we don't actually need to talk about it. Just tell the husbands your story. So Marilyn, I know you're in Salt Lake, and I know you just maybe closed your video off, but would you mind just sharing your experience with customs? If you can pop in, we're kind of just starting off that way. I'm going to see. She just put her phone down, so maybe might not be able to be on video. I know she's traveling. So, okay. Well, we will just go on then. But the great thing is that, as you probably read in the newsletter, we just moved to an organic whole foods base. And the great thing about that organic piece is that it's on the way to being certified organic is the long-term goal. So not only the only place in the US that does the testing and then creating the supplements, but also the organic certification is, you know, we're in process towards that, but have that organic whole foods base. Marilyn, do you want to share your customs experience? I'm not sure if you are just resting. I know you're traveling. Oops, now Marilyn went away. She doesn't want to share her. Let me make this clear. I see your little puppy dog, Elizabeth. Oops. Did you mute yourself?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was like, technical difficulties. Anyway, well, and probably Marilyn will come back in a bit. But so I also wanted to, beyond the customs part, welcome. We've had some fun stuff in the newsletter, so I'm just going to buzz through that real quick. So if you haven't read the newsletter, it's really worth reading Jean's page and a half where she talks about what's going on and all the changes we have. One other big change is the skincare subscription service. So the way that's going to work, and by the end of this month we should have that out, but is steps 1 through 4. So in the intuitive line, the facial cleanser, number 2, firm and tone serum, the eye gel, and the day cream. Someone will pay $50 in June, right? And they get those 4 products shipped to them. They pay $50 in July, $50 in August, they paid for that set. In September, their 4 pieces ship again, and it's the $50. So, because so many people are budgeting now, you know, I mean, the 208 is a great value. I know people spend way more because we know how long it lasts. But the great thing with that subscription service is they can do it from a budgeting standpoint and do the 50, 50, 50. So it's not so much to get started. Now the night cream, everyone seems to use in differing amounts. So that's why it wasn't included. And what I'll encourage my clients to do is on their first order, throw on their night cream. And then they may not need their night cream again for 5 months. Maybe they're going to need it 4 months. Maybe they need it 6 months. Everyone uses that very differently. So the wonderful thing is, 1, it goes right along with the customs. So now they can have both products on auto ship. And 2, it is, again, I mean, $50. I only have to spend $50 this month and I can get the entire skincare system. You know, those 4 steps, then add the night cream. That's a great deal. People can do that. You know, sometimes the $208.95 they want, but then the car, then the this, then the that, and they just keep never buying it, right? I mean, I've had that experience. People want it, but they're saving up for it. And as we know, when you're the female of the household often too, those things go for everyone else, right? So that $50 is just really doable. and fits in with the budgeting that some people are doing. So that's super exciting. Also, we have new waterproof mascara. We also have some new lipstick shades, some new blush shades, and then we have our recognition piece. Oh, and real quick, so the special for the month is with a $125 Luminous purchase. So that'd be our makeup line, right? You get a free Lights Out. The Lights Out is a great product to help you sleep. And I think it's like 80% of adults have trouble sleeping. And the difference between the Lights Out and some of the other products is that the Lights Out helps the body actually truly go into a state of rest so the body can do all the processes it should at night, versus some of those more prescription kind of things that knock you out a little bit. Those don't allow the body really to do what it needs to at night. So you're knocked out, but you're not really doing the cleansing and the detoxifying and all those things that are important. So it's really affecting your health negatively. So that's a benefit to Lights Out. For recognition, we have Top PRV with Jessie Keener, naturopathic doctor who has used these products in her practice for years and years. And that's a great thing for all of us because it adds a lot of credibility for us all, which is awesome. I was number 3, so that was cool. Adele was number 5. Woohoo, Adele. And she is expecting as well. So we're going to have some cute little babies on these before too long. So that's really exciting. And we have quite a few new consultants who joined us recently. So I'm just going to do a quick little hello. So in May and June, we had Juliet Reed join us, Valerie Tite, Hamilton, who is also new. Katie's a chiropractor in Boise, and I'm excited to see her add this to her practice as well. Beth Langley, hello Beth. Jocelyn Martindale, welcome Jocelyn. Melissa Philpott, hello Melissa. I know she recently has been getting her stuff and get going. And then Bryn Duncan Hubbs. So welcome Bryn, and she's on Adele's team. So super excited to have the new people. We have quite a bit happening. Last month was one of our biggest months, if not the biggest month for the company. We're just really starting to have things rock and roll. So it's a great time to be involved. So, okay, so we talked about those things. So if you would like to print off kind of our overview of how we do what we do is on the starfishsuccess.com. Go to the Getting Started, and then scroll down and you'll see where it says our steps are to expose someone, the initial contact, the presentation, and the close. And you can see where there's a sheet that you can print off that details that conversation. But we're going to talk a little bit to begin with about how we do that initial meeting. And Elizabeth, will you take that away?
Yes, I can make sure that was not mute. Okay, so one of the things that we start with, or people sort of struggle with initially, is how to start a conversation. And on the Starfish Success website, at the very bottom, there is a list of 250 conversation starters. So if you can't find one on there, I don't know what you're doing. But I did take note of just a few of them. And, you know, in my line of work for working in administration and recruiting, it's been, you know, you're starting conversations nonstop. And sometimes you have really talkative people and sometimes you don't. And that's real life for us, like no matter what we have going on. So just a few that I wanted to run through. I always try to do something positive. So I know even some of those examples were like, what's your least favorite, whatever. I don't tend to go that direction. I like to keep it with something more positive that I'm asking them. So a few examples would be like, what different countries have you been to? And then trying to elaborate on that. I think I love to talk about travel and different things with people. And there's so many ways that conversation can go from there. Where did you go to school? Maybe since, I was going to say I'm in my 20s, but I'm 30 now. I still like to know where people, you know, like went to college or what sort of association, you know, someone would have with that. And again, there's lots of things you can link from there. What exciting plans do you have for the weekend or the holiday? Like this weekend's Father's Day. You do anything exciting for that? Just trying to tie in, you know, something that could be going on with them this weekend or with something coming up. Obviously right now it's summertime, so do you have any fun trips planned for the summer? And again, elaborate on that. People love to talk about what they're doing. That's typically a highlight for them if they're taking a family vacation or something. If I see something specific that they're like doing or using, like, you know, if we're driving and I'm like, oh, do you love this car? Or, oh, do you love whatever? Maybe I see they have like their new iPhone. Oh, do you love the new iPhone? And try to get them talking about that. If there's a new restaurant that is open, there's one that opened right down the street from me, and it's called Fresh Healthy Cafe. So I'm like, hey, have you tried the new restaurant, Fresh Healthy Cafe? And again, get them talking there. If they're a sports person, I like sports. I'm typically around a lot of people who are talking about sports almost nonstop. So, the NFL finals were just on, the NBA finals were just on. Like, did you watch the game? People can talk about that. Where do you go to work out at? That's something that I like to do, so it's easy for me to talk to people about. And then I've got 2 dogs, so if someone has a pet, talk to them about their pet or open a conversation that way. So I think the main thing, it's best if you ask them a question that isn't quite a yes or no, because if they just answer no or yes, kind of leaves it, open. It's better if you ask something open-ended. But some of mine you'll notice were a little bit yes or no, but I already know questions that I can ask beyond that. If they say yes, I know kind of what direction to go. And if they say no, same thing. So again, I like to keep it a little bit more on the positive. And then one of the things you can pull from that is hot spots that they might hit on. They are going on a summer vacation, but it's their only one this year because they have no time to travel because they're working all the time, or whatever. There's lots of things that they can talk about from that initial conversation starter that give you keys. Oh, they do like to work out. They are healthy. Oh, they did try this new restaurant and they like it because it has healthier options, or other things that you can pull from to be able to talk that way. Does that help?
Yes, totally agree. That's perfect. Yeah, I think you're right. The point of the conversation is to find out, if this person's someone who's going to be a connection in your world, whether they are going to be someone who is, we all wear a lot of different hats. So connection maybe in some other part, or with our Bioseutica business, are they going to be a referral source, a customer, or a consultant, right? Where would they fit? What would interest them? And it's exactly what you said. Some of those areas, it's easy to then find out what that need is, is there a need for more time, more money, which most people, the answer is yes, right? Is there, are they already interested in health? Hey, sounds like health's really important to you. Do you take some kind of supplements? Oh yeah, what kind do you take? How are those working for you? Have you heard of customized nutrition? Oh, you haven't. So, and what we want to remember, so that exposure sometimes goes into that initial contact. In that initial contact, we're forming, right? So we're asking questions about family, occupation, recreation, in order to bring up a time to give them the message. And it could be that the exposure and initial contact kind of end up working together. And then after we have that initial contact, then we're going to do the presentation. So for instance, like with that conversation, oh, how do you like your supplements? How are those working for you? Oh, they're fine. Is there, do you have as much energy as you want? It's asking those questions until we get an answer where there's a need where we can say, oh, well, I might have something that would help you with that. If I could give you some information that could be the answer, would you be open to taking a look? Right? They say yes. We set up the time for the presentation. We don't really need to, it's easy to vomit all over them because we're excited, right? But the point is to kind of separate those contacts as much as possible, to have that initial time where you find the need, and then to find the time where you give them the information. Sometimes, sure, you're going to go right into maybe about the customized nutrition, but usually they weren't asking for a presentation, right? You were having conversation. So instead, setting up that time, and then the reality is there's a reason why radios do ads, because repeat exposures is what opens people's mind to something. So typically speaking, giving a little bit of curiosity and then setting up a time to go through that is going to give you a better result than if you just spewed it right then anyway. So you're going to have that exposure, which may lead into that initial contact, or it may be that, like Elizabeth said, maybe you talk about pets, you say, it'd be great to stay connected. I walk my dogs sometimes, maybe we could walk them together sometime, or, some kind of reason to be in contact. You'd be a great contact to have. It sounds like we, have both interested in the same sports or whatever. So you get their contact information, then you're going to follow up and do that initial contact, which is where you're going to form more. And we have a whole training on that in March that you can look back on our blog and see. Then for the presentation, so the presentation is going to be whatever information is going to help them fill that need. We have all of those great videos that are out. If you go to biosutica.com, go to the virtual office, and then scroll down at the bottom, go to the knowledge library, right? And then on the top right now, we have 4 or 5 different videos to choose from. That couple-minute one that's about the private test. We have a brand video, we have a testimonial video, we have a 15-minute overview. So one of those is likely going to do your presentation for you. And the benefit of having one of those do your talking is that anybody can go, well, all Cindy did was send me that video. I could probably send that video to somebody else. You know, I mean, that's the other reason to really use those tools as much as possible. So the tool's going to be talking, and then we're going to close. And I'm going to actually play some of Danny Johnson's training on 6 figures in 6 months. Is the little training that I'm reading from, or not reading from, I'm going to let you listen to her. So she's specifically talking about closing with recruiting, so with someone who's looking at the business. But I want you to kind of take some of it, like I think you can put it both ways with products and with the other. And she's going to say, in the very beginning, she's going to say that there's 2 things. And one of them is, I don't know about that, all I know is. And that's a great way to handle any objections. That's what she's kind of talking about right there. Well, what about da-da-da? I don't know about that. All I know is that I had stomach pain that the doctors couldn't figure out, and now I don't have stomach pain anymore. And I know that when I had my testing when I was pregnant, my doctor did not expect for my levels to come back fine, and my levels were so good I didn't need to add any of the things she thought I was going to have to add, right? Or what to give it the exact, you know. But so instead of, sometimes we do try to have all the answers. And of course, for scientific questions, we can say that we can add that to we can have our science team answer that, which is great. But sometimes we don't need to give as much information as we think. We can focus in, when you purchase product, even from, let's say, the counter at Sephora, right? How much product knowledge do they typically really have? When you go to GNC, how much product knowledge do they typically, or the Whole Foods, right? They do a pretty good job of having educated people, but they're not nutrition, you know, they're not a pharmaceutical doctor. They're not a clinical nutritionist typically. They're someone who's interested in nutrition who works there part-time, right? And they're answering some of the questions, and I'm not knocking those people at all. I'm only saying sometimes we feel like we need to be a scientist. And the reality is we're sharing these products because we know how well they work for us. So I don't know about that. All I know is that for me, my pregnancy when I was 41 was easier than my pregnancy when I was earlier. Or, you know, if that's, however that statement's totally true. But, you know, all I know is my husband was talking about how, you know, all the other husbands were struggling with, you know, I mean, whatever like those are the kind of things. And those are the reasons that typically people purchase products anyway. Even on the infomercials, how much science do they have and how many stories do they tell, right? So I don't know about that. All I know is. Okay, so we're going to listen to about 10 minutes of this.
Real quick, Jamie. So looking at the form that we would download from your website, the first 2 are going to be taking place pretty much at the same time, but everything after that is in a different, like that's a different day, right? Like the exposure and the initial contact are happening together. And then number 3 on is at a different time, the presentation and everything, right?
Sure. So 3 and 4, when you look at that, so exposure and initial contact. So exposure could happen a different time than initial contact, or it could happen the same time, right? So for instance, exposure, if it's someone you already know, the exposure's already happened, and you're going to basically reach out and do the initial contact, which is where you're going to form, ask questions about family, occupation, recreation, message, right? To find their need. Yeah, and so you could have, but you're right. You would, typically speaking, not give product information. Product information would only happen during the presentation stage. You might say, I personally, you know, had stomach pain until I found this product. And I have to tell you, I have so much energy. I feel great. I'd love to figure out, you know, would this work, which would work better for you, Tuesday or Thursday, for me to share some information, and you can see if it would give you the energy that you're looking for too, right? Yeah. We're not talking names. We're not talking test panels. We're not talking, we're just, I've got some information that might help you. I don't know. It might not. I don't know. But hey, it helped me. So maybe it'd help you too. Let's set up a time for you to listen to it and you tell me what you think, right? Okay. And so, yeah, so then that presentation is going to take place. And then step 4 is the close. And the close would typically take place right after the presentation.
Right. Okay.
And the presentation would be whichever of those tools you use, or a 3-way call, or a launch. So yeah, good question. Okay, I'm going to push play. and see if I can make this boom box that I have it going in work right. Oh, we got the music. We should start our trainings with music. Jamming out. I don't know how to make it fast forward because it's not in my computer anymore. I'm sorry. Can you hear that, Elizabeth?
Not very well.
Is that better?
No. I think it just needs to be closer to the microphone.
Where is the microphone?
What we've been talking about all week.
Now I can hear it.
Oh, you could hear it.
I could for a
Get the
second.
prospect talking about themselves, then you find what their needs are. We did a great job of that. Talking about
So she said, so you get the prospect talking about themselves, right? Which is what we talk about in the initial contact, right? Where you're forming, you're finding out about them. Then you're going to share the information.
this morning. We talked about that yesterday afternoon. We've camped out for several hours on this topic about how to get people into your business. Now, as far as closing goes, when you've done the groundwork, it is very simple. So if you know the basis that facts tell and stories sell, and you have the basis, if I don't know, all I know is story, and for any reason you get your money back, the closing on for the opportunity works very similar, very, very similar. What I would rather do, let's say that I have already shown you the business, or you've gone to a website to see the business or what have you. Let's say that has happened. And now it's time to close. By the way, I did a conference call. My conference call again Monday night. Who's going to be on my conference call tomorrow night? Anybody? A good way to introduce people to this training seminar is to get them on that conference call on Monday night. They would get a little bit of this conference call. We do these, half hour, 7 p.m. Pacific Coast. I three-way them into a conference call that your upline is doing. Something that I think is very important to do anytime that you're going to have somebody else present the business for you. You need to build credibility to whoever is speaking, because they don't know who is talking at them. In fact, yesterday I role played with you when I did with Betty and Pamela about these are two customers that I've turned into distributors, and I sold the conference call to them saying, there's a gentleman who's a very, very successful businessman who's put together some systems that make people's home-based businesses much simpler, efficient, and more profitable. This man is taking time out of his busy schedule tonight to spend some time on the phone sharing how those systems work and how they can work for you. I highly recommend that you listen to him, that you take notes, because an opportunity like this to listen to somebody like him is very rare. What does that make the prospect think? Or, hey, there's a conference call, listen to it. I'd be more apt to take notes, listen, oh, there's some importance here. So you want to build up your speaker always. Let's say,
On a side note, for our Monday night calls that we have, we could do the same thing. So instead of just trying to get someone on, being able to build up Dr. Jessica Keener, Kim Kearns.
we get done. Who wants to role play with me? Someone new. Let's say that you just heard the conference call. You just saw the opportunity. Either I did a one-on-one presentation with you, a group presentation with you, phone presentation with you. I need a role player. Harvey, let's say that you just heard a conference call. This is what I'm going to say. So Harvey, what did you like about what you just heard?
I'm pretty excited about it.
Really?
Mhm.
What are you excited about? That's my second question. Tell me about that. So whatever they say, I say, tell me about that. What did you like about it? Go ahead.
It's a great opportunity. It appears to be a great opportunity, and I'm really favorable toward something that could help other people and put money in my pocket.
What did he just tell me? He just told me how to close them, didn't he? What did he say that gave me a clue on how to close them? All I do is go with that. Duct tape. Do not continue to sell your prospect on the opportunity. Don't now engage in a conversation that says, oh, I know, Harvey, and did you hear about this? And did you make note of that? And oh my gosh, and da-da-da-da-da-da. The focus is who? The prospect, and you are not the issue. So do not continue to sell them. Let them talk. You ask questions, they talk. He just said, man, it looks like a great opportunity to help a lot of people and make some money. Great. Are you serious about that, Harvey?
Yes, I'm very serious.
Tell me why.
Well, we need some additional income in my family. I've been looking for a way to do that, and helping other people is a great way to do it.
What's he doing? He is selling himself. You got it. Jean said it. He is closing himself. Why? Because I don't want to convince him. I want him to be sure that this is what he wants to do. And I want to make sure that he wants to do it so I don't waste my time. Okay, well, Harvey, this is how you can get started. It's $300 for a case. You need to sign up and get your free website. And you need to get yourself booked into the next training seminar. The next training seminar is in Sacramento, California. I highly recommend you take the next flight out.
That's going to be pretty expensive, isn't it?
Notice what I did. I told him what the price was, and then I let him respond. I said, this is how you get started. Now you shut up. That's it. Then his response was,
The $300 I can do, but plant airfare and going somewhere far away to a seminar, that would be pretty expensive, wouldn't it?
tell me why you feel that way.
Because I'm broke. It would be hard to come up with a significant amount of extra money right now.
Okay. Let me show you something. Here's another advantage you have by selling them the seminar the minute they get started. It's called selling from the top down. If you start with $39, they can say, no. If you start at $300, they can say, well, I could do $39. You start at $300 plus airfare and a seminar, well, I could do $300. But if you start at $300, it's just the natural point of sales. It's the natural course of it. For example, if I fear any of you ever trying to sell my friend Rohini something, okay, I don't know if you noticed, but she's got some pretty hefty rocks on her hands. She will negotiate. She negotiated for that 4.2 carat diamond for 7 hours. For 7 hours. And was it the Virgin Islands? Cozumel. And here's why. What I'm saying is that people like to get a good deal. So they like to start at the top and work their way down. They feel like they got a good deal. Okay, well, you can start at 300. Your credit card. I didn't have to hammer them about 300, but if I started at 39, might have had to. It's easier to sell from the top down than it is to sell from the bottom up. People are tight with their cash. That's the bottom line. So that's just my personal belief. Other people do things differently. But if you're recruiting strictly for the business, I like to start at the top and let it filter down. They wind up somewhere. Hey, won't they at least try a bottle? If I'm saying, you need to go to Sacramento next weekend. Whoa, wait a minute. He just said I could do the 300. He just told me yes. Okay, that's fine. I need your credit card number. You said that's rather expensive. And then he told me I could do 300. Great. Let's start here. Anybody else want to role play with me? This is the time to give me the objections that you currently hear when you're trying to close somebody on your business. You guys don't have any? Jean, you got one?
Well, how much time does this take?
That's a great question, Jean. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, I only have so many hours in a week, and I don't know how much time. It takes a lot of time. I don't know whether I can do it or not.
What's a lot of time to you?
20 hours a week?
What can you do?
Well, I could probably do 10.
If I would have said 20 or 30 or 40, I could have blown him out. You have to qualify his question. What do you mean by that? Is this going to take a lot of time? And if I say, oh, no, then he knows I'm lying. You're not going to make a lot of money with no time. Tell the truth. Well, what exactly do you mean by a lot of time? He could think a lot of time is 50 hours a week. I could think a lot of time is 10 hours a week. It depends on the person to qualify the question. So again, let's go there. He says, is this going to take a lot of time? Tell me what you mean by that. Let's start again.
Is this going to take a lot of time?
Tell me what you mean by that, Jane.
Well, like I said, I only have so many hours a week. I'm working a 40-hour-a-week job right now. And, how much time would you have to put in on something like this?
How much time would you like to put into something like this?
I don't know. I guess I could put 10 hours a week in on it without any problem.
Not a problem at all. So, Jane, are you ready to make a significant difference in your financial future?
You bet.
See, what happens is that when most people offer an objection, our knee-jerk reaction is to argue with them, is to become defensive with the prospect. If you get on the defense, you lost the sale. Totally lost the sale, completely. So the important thing is don't get defensive, don't take it personally, and don't argue with them. Because if you argue with them, it's a done deal. No. What do you mean, Gene? You fool, you need to find the time. I don't think that's going to work. Gene, come on, you and I both know you watch 7 hours worth of TV every day. I've turned the TV off. No, that's not going to work. Qualify the question. And then he rolled right into it. Well, I only have so many hours. How many hours would you be willing to put in? 10? Great. If I would have said 10 hours, he'd say, oh, I don't think I could do that. I don't want to give him a suggestion of how much he wants to do. I want him to sell me on what he's willing to do. So he said 10 hours a week. Okay, so Gene, are you serious about putting in 10 hours a week?
Yeah, you think I could really make any significant difference in 10 hours?
I think you can make a difference.
What kind of a difference?
What kind of a difference do you want?
I don't know, could I make a couple $100 a week?
I think with some training, you could make a couple extra $100 a week.
Doesn't sound too bad.
So you asked the closing question. What did you like about what you heard? Anybody else? Let's do another person. Daryl's going to give me a run for my money. Daryl, what did you like about what you saw?
Well, it sounds like the product's real good, but it sounded like this was sales. Is this sales?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm not a salesman.
I'm sold. I'm sold. You're not the salesman. Tell me, what is it that you liked about what you saw?
Well, like I say, the product sounded like it was a good product, and certainly some of those people seemed like they were getting some good results on it and so on. But you know, this sales thing, it's just got my goat. I tried being a car salesman. I didn't like that, you know.
I totally understand, Daryl. So what do you mean you like the product?
Well, you know, it sounds like something I'd like to try and see what it does for me.
Okay. Well, why don't we start there?
Okay.
I'm not going to fight with him that he doesn't like to sell. He gave me a clue about what he liked, didn't he? Focus on what? What he likes. He said he liked the product. I put the focus back on the product. I get to focus off what he doesn't like. So he said, I like the product, but I don't want to sell. So great. What is it that you like about the product? Sounds like something I want to try. Great. $39. You can have that product one of three ways. $39, $100, or $300. Daryl, so you say you like the product.
Yeah.
Do you know other people that need to feel better?
Yeah, I'm sure that there's some people I know that probably need to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I just hate to sell to my friends.
I totally understand. I am right there with you. Absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and get started on the product and let's see what happens.
Okay, we can do that. Truth of the matter is I love taking money from my friends.
Because you are so challenged. That's awesome. That's awesome. So again, you asked a closing question. What did you like about what you saw? He said, I like this, but, which means he has an objection. I say, I totally understand how you feel. But tell me what you like about the product. He closed himself. Actually, it's something I'd like to try. Great. There you go. Does that make sense? Let me tell you what most amateurs do in our business. They run on the bunny trail of the objection. That's what they do. They'll chase a decoy. They chase the decoy. No, listen. You just said, I like the product. Great. Ignore the decoy. Go back to the issue of what he likes and let him sell himself into the opportunity. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this happen. It's an absolute crack up. I've had people like, I'm not selling nothing. And I'm not talking to no friends. Great, don't. So tell me about that product that you like. They get started on the product and guess what happens? Blah, 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 blah. They talk to their friends. They get the friends started. It is just a natural thing that happens. But see, he doesn't know that he wants to talk to his friends about this because he doesn't know what the product's going to do for him. Once he sees what it does for him, then it's a natural thing. Great, I don't want you to sell you. Don't talk to Daryl, don't talk to anybody.
Okay, so we'll pause that there. So there in that, that's probably my favorite of our training series. There is a CD just about how to retail. There's 2 about how to recruit. This one is on closing, and there are 4 other CDs. So it's a really effective. I mean, I think we have training on objections a lot of times in our industry, and that's not bad to understand how to answer certain objections. But personally, I think this ties in really well with if we've already in that initial contact really formed the prospect, we've talked about their family, about their occupation, about their recreation, we found their need, we know who they are, and we just keep the focus on them and what it is they want. And we just are the consultant that fulfills that. So Elizabeth, what did you think? What stood out to you about that?
Yes. Okay. I loved it. I did have one question.
Yeah.
First of all, I loved the responses that she gave because, like you said, it's not like you're rebuttaling them. Okay, so I loved when she said, sorry, I'm trying to read through all my stuff. Oh, don't become defensive. Don't take it personally. Don't argue with them. Like, just, answer their questions, which I think that's what most people feel most comfortable doing. They just need to get to a place to where they're comfortable answering so they don't feel defensive. So I loved that she touched on that. My question was for us, what would you recommend for us for selling from the top down, since all of our packages are pretty inexpensive to begin with, and they're pretty close in price, I guess I would say.
Yeah. I love that you asked that, because actually I have written that down as a note that I was going to look at. So what I was thinking about, so I'm interested in your feedback here, was to say, like, hey, we recommend starting with one of these 3 packages, and we also recommend adding on 3 to 5 more of the products you're interested in from our catalog. Or you can start with just one of these packages, or you can start with 89.
Okay.
And, because honestly, it's true. If you don't try the mascara, you're not going to sell it. So even if you're getting the skincare, and so then here are a couple of the ones we recommend. So you've tried something in the makeup line, something in this line, something in this line, so that's what I was thinking about, kind of, recommending you add 4 to 6 other products. The other benefit to that is that if you get one of these starter kits and 3 to 4 more products, then as soon as we help you sell your first 500 in client sales this month, you're going to get your $100 bonus and your $75 bonus right away at the same time.
I knew you were going to take it there.
I like those bonuses. I like how people get them. I agree. What I really also like is that in the same way that when you're talking with someone about, hey, Susie, after you formed with them and find out about them, I hear you saying that you're really serious about wanting to have more time at home with your kids and having more flexibility in your schedule. Are you serious about that? Right? The same at the end of that's the script we have out on that page that you can print off. Ask them a couple questions. If I've got some information that could help you with that, would you be willing to take a look, right? So that's that script. You can read through that part. But in a way, it's that exact same thing with the clothes. Tell me what you liked about what you saw, which is the same thing we would ask a client, right? Like, what did you like the most about that sample? What did you like the most after they watched the Custom Essentials, that private test, couple-minute video? What did you like the most about what you saw? That's always our first question. Client, consultant, right? What did you like the most about what you saw? Tell me more about that. Whatever they say, tell me more about that, which is a perfect question, or a perfect add-on to Elizabeth, when you were talking about earlier, after in the initial contact too, your exposure. First question we ask them, oh, I'm going to go to Peru, blah, 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 blah. Tell me more about that. People always will, right? Because people seldom get to talk about themselves or what they're doing, what they're excited about. So what did you like about what you saw or heard? Tell me more about that. And then based on that, they kind of have given often, by the time, what did you like the most of what you saw? They're going to tell you, I like the money opportunity. I like the fact that it can help people. I like the fact that this is customized. I like whatever they've told you. Now that's what you're going to be focused on with them, right? Because when we don't ask them that and we go off on, you can help people, and there's someone who maybe is focused on the money and they're not a cause-driven person, right? Because different personalities have different motivating factors, right? They don't care about the cause. I mean, they might be happy to donate their chunk of change. On the other hand, you could be talking to somebody about the money who's cause-driven. They don't really care about the money. They might care about what the money can do, but they don't care how many dollars they're going to make. So when we go down the trail of what's so exciting, the other thing I love is when she said, and when they tell you, and you're like, amen, preach on, right? And you're like, I know, and did you also know? Because that is hard not to do, because you feel like other sales things I've heard, build the bridge, right? So we kind of want to tell them more. And did you also know about the double start bonuses and the da-da-da-da-da-da-da? but instead just applying duct tape, like she said, and letting them sell themselves. Tell me more about that. And then, how serious are you about making a difference in your income? Okay, so there are some more role playing on that same piece of it, but so then she would say, well, let me tell you how you can get started. I've also heard that next question be, so do you want to start, do you want to make a lot, you want to make a little? Okay, here's how we're going to do that. And then once you've given them the price options, once again, what do? Duct tape. I really have to think about the duct tape thing because I like to talk, as you all know. So, but again, it's pretty serious, you know, or pretty easy when you can just focus on the questions. When we think we have to present them the right information to close them, it's a lot of pressure. When we just instead can focus on, it's like a life coach, right? Like a life coach doesn't give you the answers, they help you find your answers. And it's a similar kind of thing. What did you like about that? Tell me more about that. Okay, so do you want to get started on the fast track, or do you want to start a client? You know, I mean, we're just helping them get where they want to go. What did you think, Cindy? What did you like? What stood out to you?
Well, you said it, but I really liked how she said, well, tell me more about that. Because I'm not the talker, and I'm not the one that could like keep, and I liked what the last guy said, like, I'm not a salesman. I am not. And so to turn it back and, you know, answer them with a question type thing, and so that was helpful.
Yeah.
That's what I could do.
Well, I think the thing is that as we looked, when you look back at that initial exposure, I can't remember if you were there for that training that week or not, but there's really the 4 same questions. And she asked them just a little bit different, like you do when you kind of done something a lot. But pretty much if you're like, these are the 4 questions I ask. In the same way, when you ask someone to take a look at the business or at the products, you know, it's the same thing. I heard you say, were you serious about that? How important is that to you? If I could give you information that would help you with that, would you be willing to take a look? You know, I mean, that's different than like, well, let me tell you about, do you want to hear more? You know, like we put more pressure on ourselves and we probably turned them off. It's a whole lot less talking. And, you know, and at the end of, I feel too, like with this approach, if someone isn't a yes, we haven't turned them off either, because we really have been focused on them the whole time. So I will be doing a recorded close with the catalog, just so we can all kind of see how to do that, just as a separate little training in the next week. But I'm also going to send out an invite to see if we can set up a couple times to listen to some different chunks of this training and just do a little bit of role playing afterwards and kind of discussion about it, because there's some really good chunks just like this. And if we just keep focusing on how do we do the initial contact and how do we close, what do we use for the presentation, that process becomes easier if we just focus on those steps with those simple questions. And that's all we have to do, because we talked about the products earlier. We have great products. Not every single person's going to love them, but we have a high return rate when we share the products and are able to feel comfortable. You know, we needed these tools. You know, our catalog's in place now, all the things we needed. So, any other comments before we end the recording, ladies? Well, thank you both for being on live. I know a lot of people are going to hop on the recording, so we'll be sharing the recording, but thank you guys for being on. Anything else you want to add, Elizabeth?
I really liked the combination of your training and a little blurb from her.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you. Yes. Yes, we'll be looking forward to baby pictures soon, because the time is flying. You're like, I have a lot of time before. Yeah, sorry, that's stressing you out. You have lots of time. Lots of time. Yeah. The good news is that nesting instinct kicks in more and more, and so you'll get more and more done. All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.